And you know, the soldier, when he is not experienced, there is possibility of temptation and he can use his weapon. So when I go around, I tell them that, look, you have been deployed here. I know you are not given any instruction, but I said one thing, the instructions to open fire should come from me as the operation officer, not me per se, but from the command, and I am representing the command.
You mentioned the crazy instructions. Do you know where those crazy instructions were coming from?
Well, I was receiving instructions from my commanding officer, because chain of command requires that you receive instructions from your commanding officer. Unless it is not a normal thing, instructions should flow along the line of chain of command.
So who was your commanding officer receiving instructions from?
My commanding officer and my unit were under the RNG, Republican National Guards, that had 2 battalions that time. The State Guard Battalion in Banjul, the Guards Battalion in Fajara Barracks. So we were all under the umbrella of the commander of Republican National Guards, who is none other than General Suleiman Baji. So I assume that the instructions would have been coming from him, wherever they may come from.
And still based on the chain of command, from what you know, where would General Saul Baji have received his instructions from?
Obviously, General Saul Baji, he was very powerful. Actually, he was the one running the show. The others were just symbols. This is a fact. As an enlightened officer, you know this thing. He was the one running the show. And I assume that, of course, he is taking the instructions from Yahya Jammeh directly, who is the commander-in-chief that time of the Gambia Armed Forces.
Thank you for that clarification. Please continue.
So like I said, these crazy instructions continued, and I went around and I told my soldiers that the order to open fire should only come from me. Even if you are provoked, you are pelted with stones, do not respond with fire. So the order to open fire, the instruction should come only from us. So as I said, I was going around every 2 days. So we were given instructions to establish a fighting position around the Tipa Garage. You know, Tipa Garage is a crowded area. They had established a fighting position somewhere, you know, and there are a lot of, you know, the civilian population close to that. So whilst I was going round, I went to that place and I saw the place. Then, you know, I felt that this fighting position is not suitable here. I look around, I saw Bakote police station. It's like a semi-story building. So I went there and I went up and I checked that is a very suitable place. The view is okay. You can establish a fighting position there and then you can control the whole area. So I decided to transfer the fighting position on top of the police building. And now I post my people there to operate with the police, and I have to talk to both of them because they are operating together. And I said to them, I said, look, even though you are putting on different uniforms, the security services of the Gambia are one. Somebody is like all of us together, other putting on half-tan, other putting on suit, other putting on other clothes, but we are one. So operate together, respect each other, respond to any threat together. So I addressed them nicely. Then I went. Then I used to go to Bakau, then go along the Kairaba, visit all our positions around Bakau area. Our boundary with Yundum was the GNPC petrol station in Abuko. I had also established a fighting position there. So one evening, again, I was going around just to check what my soldiers, what their conditions are. So I went around check all the places. Then whilst I was in the car going around the Latrikunda market, that evening, no, sorry, a day before that again, I went round and again I went to the Bakote station. I think 3 days before, 2 days before that, 3 days before that. So whilst I was at the Bakote station, then I received a call. It was a private number, and then I picked the call, and it happened to be General Suleiman Baji. We greeted. He said, "Where are you? Are you at the camp?" I said, "No, I'm not at the camp." I said, "I'm going round, sir. We have too many problems. I'm going round now. I am at Bakote station." Because I pray Maghrib at the petroleum building. Then from there, I went to Bakote station. He said, "Okay, I am also coming from around Sukuta." I said, "Sir, but there are too many problems." He said, "Okay, now let's meet at the Bakote dump site." He said, "Are you with escort?" I said, "Yes, I'm with escort." He said, "For me, I'm not with escort. So can we meet around the Bakote dump site? But leave your escort behind." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Where?" He said, "When you take that Bakote, around the SOS, before you reach that Bakote clinic, you will see 2 Africell tabla, one on the left, one on the right, and there's a red container behind one of the Africell tabla. Let's meet around there." I said, "Okay." So I left my guys there. Then I tell I'm coming. I drove the car, and I went and I parked behind that container. I closed the doors of my vehicle. I came down from the car, and I took cover behind that container. You know, you have the back of the dump site. Also calculating, what has this guy called me for? If at all he is with his escort, then I will just submerge. I will sink. I will disappear in this thing, inside the back of the dump site. He would not see me. But if at all he is alone, this is one-on-one. If there is any threat, then who dares win? So suddenly I was there. After 15, 17 minutes, I saw a black car coming from around ahead, around the Bakote High School area on the highway, this big black car. So immediately I suspected that it must be him. He came, and I'm sure he must have passed my car. He must have seen my car, so he passed. When I don't see the escort following him, the moment he passed, I opened the car, I entered, and I sat there. After a while, he turned back. Then he came until he passed me. He passed the Africell tabla on the opposite side. He also branched there. So I came down from the vehicle, and then I went to meet him. When I went to meet him, and the moment I arrived, he opened the door. It was very cold inside. The AC is running. He was having his weapon around the gear. I was having my cocked pistol under my armpit. So I entered, I sit down, and then we greeted. So when we greeted, he started narrating stories. He said, "Look, do you know what happened about this election?" I said, "No." What happened is clear. He said, "Look, do you know that these people have played a very big mafia game? Our guys in the diaspora have contributed huge amount of money, and they bribed these guys at the IEC to turn the results against the president. And also, we had a lot of dissidents outside. Those ones are based in Senegal, and the Senegalese government is also helping them in planning, to give them arms, and they have also got machineries, and equally also they are conniving with some members of the armed forces, to come and make sure that they attack the country. And there is this threat also from ECOWAS. And look, I know you long time. We did courses together, VIP training and other courses together. I know you are a very professional man. So we are counting on people like you to make sure that that doesn't happen. To do whatever it takes to make sure that that doesn't happen. You know, so he told me those things, and, you know, so many things, bad guys, you know, the West is backing those people, you know, things like that. And then finally he said to me, you know, look, he said, there is this tax, you know, because now, you know, they wanted to create the impression that these people, even though things went like this, you know, they want to show the international community that these people, you know, are not fit, you know, even to rule this country. So they are bent on violence and vengeance and revenge. So he gave me a task that he gave me some targets that I should plant explosives there, and I should explode those targets, and then they will put the blame on them. They will promote me to the rank I want, and then they will also look after my welfare. They will give me money as much as I want. So when he said that, I kept quiet. I was in the car, I kept quiet for almost 2-3 minutes. He said, is there any problem? I said, no, there is no problem. I said, I am calculating. I said, yes, because he mentioned about what happened in 1981 when they invaded the country, the Senegalese invaded the country. I said, yes. I said, but this time around also, 1981, it was the turn of orders to protect this country. 2016, this is the time that we are also found in the army. And, you know, I was talking to him in a mature way. It is our responsibility to make sure that we protect this country. Whether we do it is our responsibility. Whether we don't do it, it is our responsibility. And we will make sure that this country, we will defend it and then protect the territorial integrity and protect the people and the properties of the country. Seemingly trying to agree with him, seemingly. So the targets he mentioned is the GMPC petrol stations to bomb, to explode them, to plant explosives and explode them. So I told him, yes, I can do it. I said, but, you know, this is a difficult, it's a simple tax, but it's also a difficult tax. Because you have said that, you know, there are some, you know, members of the fifth column, you know, enemies within us who are conniving with our dissidents, and we don't know who is who. So you also need to give me time, like the way you trust me also to scout out people that I trust to help me actualize this thing. He said, okay. He said, but please, very soon. So you make sure you call me, at least before 2 days, call me. I said, okay, I will call you. He said, otherwise, are there any problems? I said, yeah, there are so many problems. And I explained these problems I mentioned, you know, the soldiers, you know, accommodation is a problem, toiletry and all those things. So then after that, I complimented him and I get off the car. When I get off the car, I move few steps, he called me. I came, he lowered the mirror, this thing, the door glass, and then he gave me 10,000. I said, what? He said, you know, we are on 100% standby. You can buy credit and other things from this, okay? But don't worry, your welfare will be taken care of. I said, okay. So when he lowered the glass, the door, this thing, when I came down, when I went back, you know, as I faced, you know, I'm able to see behind, and I could see some money bags inside the car. Some money bags. I could see some money bags inside the car, piled together in the behind. So then after that, I left.
Before you proceed, you mentioned that one of the things that Saul Badji said to you was, these people are bent on revenge or vengeance. Which people was he referring to? Which people were he?
I assume that time he is talking about the coalition that have won the election, because there was no logic for other people to do. I assume he was talking because he talked about the rigging of the election against them, and then he spoke about this. So I assume that time he is referring to the coalition, really, reasonably.
Please proceed.
So from there, I went back to Bakote station, then with my escort. I drove back to Fajara Barracks. I didn't call him, really. The following day, I didn't call him. The second day after that, I didn't call him. Then the third day, my commanding officer told me that in the morning, he told me that Commander RNG is coming to visit the camp today, this morning. I said, okay. I said, let me just contact, because when a general is coming to the camp, you organize what they call quarter guard ceremony, small ceremony to receive him. I said, then let me tell the RSM to organize quarter guard before he arrives. And then the guys, my commanding officer told me that he said there is no need for a quarter guard. This is just a family visit. And this is unusual. A general officially coming to the camp, they should organize quarter guard for you. So then, being the battalion twice, we arrange chairs and we fall in all the soldiers to sit there. So I remained with them. My commander and few officers went to the gate to receive Sol Baji. So eventually, finally he came. Then when he came, they walked with him from the gate. Then I raised the battalion, and then I salute. I give him the figure, and then I seek permission to sit them down. He said, okay. And when they sat down, he narrated verbatim the same thing he told me when I met with him one-on-one. He narrated exactly the same thing, except the instruction he gave to me. So in my mind, I was calculating that because perhaps he didn't hear from me, that is why he came for a visit.
When you say everything except the instructions he gave you, which specific instructions are you referring to?
The instruction about those targets to destroy.
You said that he mentioned GNPC. Were other targets mentioned as well?
He mentioned specifically the GNPC petrol stations. And later, information came that some guys want to sabotage to bomb the GMPCs, to burn the GMPC stations. It was the GMPC stations. He mentioned petroleum house, but later he changed the instruction. Yeah, but it was mainly the GMPC stations.
So after he gave the same instruction, he relayed the same information to the soldiers, excluding the specific instruction he gave you regarding the explosives. What else happened?
Then he gave some money to the officers. I think 20,000, if I don't forget. He gave some money to the officers. There was money in his car. He gave 20,000 to the officers, and he also gave, I think, some money also, whether it's 30,000 or 40,000, I don't know precisely. I don't remember precisely. Also, he gave to the troops. Then after that, when he said he was going, the officers, we saw him off to the car. We take him along, carried him beside the car. So when he was about to enter the car, I salute him. I said, sir, with the threats you are talking about against the country, against Gambia, considering that in Fajara Barracks, we don't have weapons. Our guys are on standby, roughly almost about 800 to 900 soldiers on standby. And even half of those people were not armed. So what mechanisms are there to make sure that we defend our camp and we defend the country in case if there is any problem? What mechanisms are there? Because I know for a fact from my training experience, from my professional experience, I know for a fact that for an army to fight a battle, they need at least 6 months preparation, if not 1 year. Because, you need to study the ground, you need to study the avenue of approach, you need to zero your heavy weapons, to zero them on the avenues of approach. The logistic connections, you need to work out all those things. I know it should take at least 6 months to prepare to counter an enemy that is attacking your army. So I was somehow, asking this question, but at the same time also trying to ridiculing him. That what mechanisms are there, we have empty hands. He said, "Bah, don't worry. We have more than enough weapons. But right now, as things are, we must know who is who first." And then after that, he looked at my rank. He said, "Oh, you are still a captain." I said, "Yeah." He said, he asked my commanding officer. He said, "But why is this guy not promoted?" And that guy told him, I don't know." So then he entered his car and then he went.
If I can just stop you there temporarily. Mr. Chairman, I'm seeking guidance because we only have a few more minutes in order to conclude the testimony. I think roughly 15 minutes beyond time. So I would propose, if that's agreeable to the commissioners, to continue for another 15 minutes and then end the testimony, and then we're done for today. Yes.
Thank you, Council. You may proceed accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please proceed with your testimony, Captain Ba.
So we saw him off and he went away. He went. So we returned back to our routine. I returned back to my routine, going around to check on my troops. And I think when he came that day, I didn't go out, but the following day I went out, or the second day I went out again, all around all our positions, all our deployments. So again, I used to go this way and then come back this way. I used to go by the Kairaba Avenue. After finishing Bakau, I used to go via the Kairaba Avenue up to GMPC Abuko, turn back, go to Bundung area, exit around Serekunda, then go to go to Petroleum House, then from there come to Bakote Station, then from there proceed to Senegambia, because that time we had our soldiers deployed in Senegambia, the TSU, Tourism Security Unit. Then pass there and then finally go to Kairaba Avenue and then go to Fajara Barracks. So on this occasion also, on this particular day also, as usual, in that late evening, I was going round, then I went up to around, when I finished that area, I went up to just finishing the Latrikunda market, going towards Tabokoto to check our last fighting position on the boundary with Yundum. I received a call from our adjutant. The adjutant is Lieutenant Yahya Jame. He was our adjutant. Then I received call from him. He said, "Permission, sir." I said, "Karon, who is that adjutant?" I said, "How are you?" He said, "Fine." He said, "Sir, where are you?" I said, "As usual, I'm going around to look after the problems of our troops. But right now, I'm just going to our last point, the GMPC petrol station in Abuko. Then from there, I will turn Bakote, Petroleum House, TSU Senegambia, and back to Bakau." He said, "But the commander said he have been calling you, but he cannot get you, the commanding officer. That is Colonel Tamba Jesus." I said, "He is calling me, he cannot get me." I said, "No." I said, "My telephone is on. Maybe it's the network, but I have not received any call from him." I said, "Please tell him, let him try me." He said, "Okay." So after a while, as I was driving up to around Tabokoto to pass that petrol station to go, again my phone rang again for a second time. He said, "Sir, but commander said he is still calling you, he cannot get you." I said, "It's strange, maybe the network." He said, "Okay, commander said you come back to the camp." He said there is an information from Banjul to brief all the troops. I said, "Okay." So at that place, without reaching GMPC Abuko, I just took a U-turn back to come back to Bakau. So I came, that time the traffic was free, there is less traffic. I came through Kairaba Avenue. Then I came, when I was passing the Kairaba station, our guys were stationed there. I saw that, then the state guard had also deployed there an anti-aircraft gun. and I saw those sandbags were turned. I advised them, I said, these sandbags that are turned, remove them, empty the sand, and just rearrange the sandbags. So then after that, I boarded the vehicle and I went back to Fajara Barracks. When I arrived at Fajara Barracks, my commanding officer was not there. Incidentally, also, that was the day that the African Cup of Nations started, either the first or the second day. So I just entered my office with my orderly. There was football, and the tension was high in the camp. I say, let me go to the drivers, their office, to watch the match there. They were showing the match there. So from there, I went there, and I was sitting there watching the match. Barely 20 minutes after that, the orderly of the commander came looking for me. So I think somebody told him I am there with the drivers watching. He came and saluted me. He said, "Commander, say you go." I said, okay. So I just got up like that. That time, everybody, wherever you are going, you are carrying your helmet, your weapon, and your weapon is always on you. Standby is like that. Wherever you are going, you are carrying along your weapon. Every soldier who was armed that time was carrying the weapon. So then I followed the orderly. And when I followed the orderly, we take a turn around the armory. Then I saw my commanding officer, and he was coming towards me. So, he was smoking and talking on the telephone. So when we get closer, before we meet, he switched off the telephone. He ring off the call. And, something strange happened. I expect that I should salute him, but instead he saluted me before I salute him. In the military, we say something very common. The reason why they say the soldier is always 6 common sense as opposed to 5. You have to have the ability to distinguish what is usual from what is unusual. That was very unusual. I expect that I should salute him, but he saluted me before I salute him. So I was smelling some things, So he said to me, yes, I call you back. We have an information from Banjul, so let us gather the whole battalion and then we brief them. I said, okay. I asked for the RSM. They said the RSM is away. His deputy, I asked him to fall in the whole battalion. So then they started falling in the battalion until when the RSM was just about to hand over to me. I invite the officers, then when the commanding officer come, I also hand over, then we listen to the information. Then he came out from his office and called me again. So I went and I met with him halfway. He said to me, now let the soldiers wait. First, there are 2 information, one for the officers only, the other for everybody. So let the officers have briefing in my office first. Let's have briefing in my office. Then after that, then we will all go together and brief the rest of the men. So I told the deputy RSM, I told him that, it's already dark. It was almost around after Maghrib. I said, please don't allow the soldiers to scatter because it will take time to gather them again. Let them just scatter, but stay within. Then after the meeting, we will come and meet them. So when I went, I met the adjutant at the gate. He said that, sir, but commander said, he said the tension is high, so let us have a meeting. Let us place our weapons and have a meeting without weapons because the situation tension is very high. But we are in our camp. So I said, okay. So the officers who were coming, I said, commander said he doesn't want us to have meeting, with our weapons. Let's place our weapons and then come to his office to have meeting. Some officers were reluctant, but me being the second in command, I persuaded them. I said, look, this is our home, man. We are having a meeting in our home. Our gate is guarded. We have over almost 800 to 900 troops here. What can happen? Nothing. Let's just place our weapons. So they went to the ante room to place their weapons. I turned, my orderly was walking behind me. He's also armed, walking, some few steps behind me. I removed my helmet, I gave him. I removed my weapon, I gave him. I removed my rifle and I gave him. I said, go and sit in the office and wait. The moment we come out from the office, then bring my things. When he was even going, I forgot my pistol was with me, so I just pulled out the pistol. I said, come. Then finally I gave him the pistol and he went to the office. Then we went inside. We were having about 14 officers at the Fajara barracks. So I ushered them into the office of the commander. We all sat. And then I said to him, sir, we have 14 personnel. Let's pray and start the meeting. I don't even know what the agenda of the meeting was. So while that was going on, I heard the noise of vehicles roaring outside around the commander's office. And when I listened keenly to the sound of the engines, I knew that these are not the vehicles of these are not our vehicles. They are not the